very pleasant morning to all again. It is my distinct honor to welcome you to this important workshop on restorative justice, criminal mediation, and juvenile justice, a key initiative under the PACE Justice Project funded by the European Union and implemented by UNDP. This gathering underscores the collective commitment of all stakeholders here today to enhance justice delivery, address systemic challenges, and build a more equitable society in Trinidad and Tobago. The issues we are addressing over the next 3 days, restorative justice, criminal mediation, and juvenile justice, lie at the heart of building a modern justice system that not only adjudicates, but also rehabilitates and restores. Over the next 3 days, you will have the opportunity to gain critical insights into restorative justice practices, which prioritize repairing harm and fostering dialogue, explore the potential of criminal mediation to de-escalate conflicts and alleviate court backlogs, and build on the foundations of child justice reform to create a system centered on rehabilitation and reintegration. The outcomes of this workshop are therefore not just procedural, they are transformative. By the end of these sessions, it is our expectation that you will enhance your repertoire of skills, tools, and strategies that have the power to reshape lives, strengthen institutions, and redefine justice delivery in Trinidad and Tobago.
This workshop in 3 days is more than an event. I think it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to start changing things and do things differently. It's an opportunity to equip stakeholders, police officers, prison officers, probation officers, and the justice sector agencies with a number of tools. Tools on promoting rehabilitation and reduce recidivism, enhance case efficiency, and support vulnerable groups. Let me conclude by hoping that we have a very learning, productive, provocative conversations, because justice is not just static, it's dynamic. And justice is not just policy and laws, it's the way you use them. And that can change the people we serve, and most often the most vulnerable. So happy to be part of this initiative. The work you do here will have impact beyond this room. I mean, I've been in many chairs like you are, and sometimes we forget the real meaning of what we do. And I hope, and I know the agenda is very dynamic. So let me invite you to really think of the impact this can have, because you can help to transform the system and more importantly, transform the lives of the people.
PACE stands for Partnership of the Caribbean and the European Union on Justice. And in this, of course, we are supported in our excellent partnership with UNDP. This training is part of the PACE Justice Project, which was started in 2023 and is being implemented by the UNDP. It's the EU's flagship project on criminal justice reforms, which has been endowed with a budget of over 10 million euros and involving 9 countries and judicial institutions across the Caribbean. As you will understand, criminal mediation emphasizes dialogue between the offender and the victim, offering a platform for resolving disputes without the necessity of formal charges. This method not only reduces the burden on the court systems, but is also an empowering process that holds the potential to transform lives and communities.
The hosting of this training program and your participation is a testament to our ongoing and shared commitment to strengthening Trinidad and Tobago's understanding and application of restorative justice principles, criminal mediation, and juvenile justice. In Trinidad and Tobago, restorative justice is not a novel concept. It is already woven into several pieces of legislation and key initiatives. By the end of this training, I trust that you would not have only deepened your understanding of restorative justice principles, but also gained practical tools to implement them effectively. Certainly, this knowledge will be instrumental in enhancing the rehabilitation of offenders, supporting victims, and creating a safer society in our beloved nation.
I think this is an excellent initiative by UNDP and PACE, because regardless of the role that we play, whether it's judiciary, whether it's a police officer, attorneys, and just a member of community, crime affects us all. And I think that the outcome that we all want is to live in a safer and a better society where we feel comfortable and we don't have to look over our shoulders. I think that society as well is crying out because we're hurting as a nation. So with restorative justice and conferences such as these, where we can have open dialogue, where we can have awareness as to what restorative justice is, which, you know, really aims at healing of the nation and really aims at ensuring that accused persons as well understand the far-reaching impact of their criminal behavior. So I think that with discussions such as these and with, you know, conferences such as these, it's definitely a step in the right direction because a safer society affects everyone and is better for the community.
I think through the PACE project, particularly with regard to restorative justice, it allows communities more access to justice as opposed to the traditional means of going to court, which a lot of people, particularly in rural areas, aren't afforded with the access to the court system or find it a bit more difficult to go towards that option because of any ideologies that they have about it, and it's more adversarial. This might be a more informal and accessible, easier way to access justice for people.
So based on what we will have discussed and learned today, and looking at what is existing in Trinidad and Tobago by way of our community police, I believe that when persons are charged for certain offences and they go to the police station, I believe that they can be referred to the community police division, which has things like the police youth club and different rehabilitation systems that they have in that youth club itself, and I think that partnering with them can be very helpful for our country.
So I do truly believe that UNDP PACE has already made a revolutionary impact. In this training that's taking place for these 3 days, I think it provides an opportunity for us in Trinidad and Tobago and all the relevant stakeholders to learn the best practices so we could better implement restorative justice in our country. So coming from the Criminal Justice Unit, Office of the Attorney General and Ministry of Legal Affairs, we are of course interested because we are developing a policy in this area, because in Trinidad and Tobago, restorative justice is not something that is new, but it is something that has to be comprehensive instead of all these piecemeal efforts that we see throughout the ministries. So I really do look forward to a great impact from this training.
I think with respect to promoting it at a community level, they can really get on the ground, do the groundwork, maybe have some meetings and conferences with like regional corporations, go out into the streets, conduct different case studies, because if it's one thing we learned today is that everything is sort of based on a case-by-case basis. So I think that will really help them to improve, gather more information, and kind of switch and do their study around it,
Collaborate with
Yeah.
NGOs,
Yes.
people who are used to the field, used to interacting with people in that field, especially within, like Haley said,
Get all these stakeholders involved. And I think for all this to work as well, we need to educate the public about the restorative justice, because as we've learned today, we could have all the laws, the legislations, and the policies, but if the population at large is not educated about restorative justice, a reason why we have restorative justice, then it wouldn't work.
I agree. I think when you go out into the field is a better way for public awareness. So as Andisha and Amani were saying, so people could be aware that this is an option for you instead of taking the adversarial route and going to court, going into litigation and going through the stress and the steps within that.
Yeah, and make it more marketable as well for community, so people will want to use it.
Yes.
Is really important.